Greetings, friends. Jason here for AxodysFC. It's been a while, but I wanted to wrap things up with the season coming to an end a few weeks ago, and Euro's about to start today. It was time for me to do a end-of-season wrap-up for Spurs and just cover some of the highlights and player stuff. And reflect a little bit before moving on to a new season of summer stuff, and then trades and craziness. So anyway, what I wanted to start off with today, player-wise, was impact new players for Spurs this season. We had actually quite a few that came in and broke into the starting lineup at different times. Destiny Udogie, great at left back for us, real revelation, and definitely a solid contributor. I think he's only going to grow in this coming season. Vicario, of course, just outstanding in goal for us. Hopefully we can get him more clean sheets, but I think that's more a matter of being effective on offense going forward. He's a great player. Really happy to have him. Mickey Van de Ven, of course, another great addition to the defense. Just an outstanding player. And as we saw in the last couple of games of the season, he can play left back too, and do some good things there. I really hope we can add some additional at least one more additional defender, or two if some of our current ones leave. But definitely he was outstanding for us. James Maddison, his start to the season was fantastic. We saw what he'll be capable of in the future. Then he had a pretty serious injury midway, cost him the mid section of the season, and then when he came back, he never really got fully up to speed. He didn't make the England's Euro squad, so he should be fully rested up and ready to go, and fired up, I'd imagine. So really looking forward to seeing what he can do, and hopefully getting more of the quality James Maddison for all of the coming season. But time will tell. We need to get some more creativity and also have the ability to protect him by resting him. So definitely will depend on what we can add this summer. Okay, two other guys. Brennan Johnson. Fans had mixed reactions to him at time, but I thought he was he was pretty expensive in the transfer market, but he was a great young player for us. Took him a bit to get up to speed, and definitely a very promising player to me. His goal contributions were as good as any winger in the Premier League, and for as young as he is and how much potential and what's going to happen in Ange's system, I couldn't be happier to have added to him, and looking forward to seeing him continuing to grow and establish himself. And then, of course, one other impact new player in particular for us is Timo Werner. Definitely, we needed him with Son out with the Asia Cup. And he came in, stepped right in for the Manchester United game, and was a big contributor. Johnson really seemed to take off when he was paired up with Werner on opposite wings. And just a very good addition, veteran player. Super happy to have had him. And my only disappointment, really was that he, went out injured in the last few games of the season, and I would have really liked to have seen him finish strong and rack up some more goal involvements. Yeah, so in terms of impact new player, my choice for impact new player of the year, definitely Vicario. He was a constant for us, played in every game, never had to sub him out, and just a big upgrade for us at goal with, Hugo not being very suited to Ange's type of style with, the ball control at his feet and and just being older and being time to be, moved on. So, definitely Vicario is my impact new player of the year. Most underrated for me. There are really, in my mind, 3 candidates for this. We've got Richarlison, who definitely had his struggles early, both mental health and physically. But then once he got surgery, came back super strong when we were missing players and had just a really great run. I think he had like 10 or 11 straight games where he scored in that middle part of the season when we really needed that. Just a fantastic showing for him during that period. Brennan Johnson, again, fans were harsh on him, especially early, but I felt like in the second half of the season he really came on strong, showed great promise, and just combined super well with Timo Werner. And then, my third most underrated, definitely Timo Werner. People's big criticism of him is, of course, his finishing not being what they consider it should be. And I would definitely like to see him improve in that regard as well. But to me, there was no other winger for us that played in the Postecoglou way to the extent that he did. Even Son had many periods of not being very effective on the left wing, especially early. Then we kind of moved him, into the middle spot. Then he started to get better. And then when he played in the left coming back, certainly he was pretty effective late. But definitely I felt in that natural left winger spot, Timo Werner really showed what an Ange style player can do. And I'm hopeful we're going to add an even more, higher caliber, more prolific finisher type, or younger player too. But all that said, I'm very happy that we've got Werner for one more season on loan. I think it's a great situation. If he has a great season, it'll be a great opportunity to sign him. If not, he'll have, served a strong role for us. And anyway, I'm very happy to have him, and I'm very happy that we did have him, even if many of our fans didn't didn't value him as much as maybe I did. So to me, he's the underrated player of the year. And let's see. Then I want to go with most professional. This is for the guys that didn't necessarily fit Ange's system. Probably will be leaving sooner rather than later this summer even. But always put in a good shift, worked hard. Emerson, he's almost a cult favorite at this point. Definitely, I appreciated his efforts and his personality and his resilience in the face of a lot of fan hate, really, over the last couple seasons. In the right system where they use conventional fullbacks, I think he'll thrive. Actually, he's a good defender. It's when you ask him to do more offensive things that he struggles. And unfortunately, in our last two systems, both with Conte and and now of course with Ange, we were asking a lot more than he can deliver offensively. Pierre-Emile Højbjerg definitely did not like having to come off the bench, used to having that starting midfielder role. but despite all that, came in and delivered a lot of great shifts off the bench for us, and was real key to finishing out many of our games this season. So yeah, definitely he's on the list. Oliver Skip is there as well. He, played wherever Ange asked him to, often in the 8 role, seemingly, which really doesn't suit him in my mind. And weirdly, he never got to play midfield at all, seemingly. But and actually he did play some at left back, and that might be his future if he sticks around as a homegrown option. And then, of course, Ben Davies, and just solid playing defensively where we needed him to, just an all-around solid individual and leader within the team. Very happy to have him on the team. Chances are I wouldn't be surprised if he's moved on this summer, but I certainly appreciate his long career at Tottenham and the work he's put in. When called upon, he always delivers. But for my overall most professional of the season, it's got to be Højbjerg. Definitely he's the guy that went from locked-in starter the last couple seasons to coming off the bench. Still performed well, didn't down tools, and I wish him well. I hope he finds a spot, whether that's at Atleti or maybe Napoli with Conte, or any Champions League caliber team that wants him. I think he could be a great addition, and I imagine he's going to have a good Euros. He's been on fire heading into them, and he always seems to be an offensive force for Denmark. So such a contrast to what he gets to do at Spurs. But anyway, definitely, he's my most professional of the season. And then final recognition I want to give is for most improved. Definitely there's some obvious candidates. Pap Madasar, he's a guy that got a few looks under Conte, but never quite got as much. He really came in and got a lot of time, and early in the first half in particular of the season, I was super strong and key to how he played. Christian Romero, definitely a solid player for us his whole time he's been here, but there have been questions about his rashness, his professionalism a little bit. Like, does he value playing for Argentina more than us? I've never necessarily felt that way. But no question, being vice captain this year and toning down his aggressiveness while still, getting after it. No question, he was absolutely a player that improved in that facet, and is an overall, very good player. Supposedly Real Madrid is interested in him now. I don't think there's any way we're letting him go for it'll be a large sum of money if he's going to get out of Tottenham right now. And then Pedro Porro, definitely a guy that people were doubting he could even play in that defensive back role, and then suddenly it turned out he was really, really good in the Ange system. And not only that, he was a very reliable and solid player defensively, gave us great things going forward, and we could count on him. He played I think 38 games this season, and whereas many of our other players had suspensions or injuries to kept them out, he was able to put in a shift throughout, and very key player. I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do this coming season as well. And then, and then the fourth guy, Richarlison, definitely he had an improved season over last year. Incredibly solid, and in the middle of the season for us after he had a surgery, and just a very much more in line with what we were looking for, I think, when we signed him. And I think he gives us something in the middle that's different than Sonny. But I think they're, between them and then potentially Kulusevski going forward, those are guys that'll be maybe in that 9 spot if we don't bring in a striker. So yeah, overall my most improved for this 2023-24 season, definitely Pedro Porro. He was the most consistent and just took a big leap, and was a key guy, and I'm very happy to have him at right back going forward. Now, switching gears. Actually, one more. Yeah, before I get to the games, the player of the season to me. Really, to me, there were only 3 guys that got the consideration for that. First, Son, of course, talisman, best player on the team, the guy that captain, and very good season in spots. Some of his best output overall, and yet at the same time he struggled like partway through the season, and I felt like it's a weird scenario. Like, he had a very good season, despite kind of underperforming, if that makes sense. Like, and maybe that's holding him to a high standard, but or an unfair standard. But I feel like, anyway, it was not quite like a breakout season like I would assign for this award. So anyway, Romero, of course, huge for us. Really improved as a leader. Organized that defense. Big clubs are interested in him, and and in fact, just a guy that I'm happy to have on contract for the next 3 years, and hopefully more, but we'll see what happens. And then, of course, number 3, Mickey Van de Ven. Really breakout player for us this past season. Kind of came out of nowhere. He wasn't even Tapsoba was the guy that people were talking about, us signing as being the addition we needed, and then Mickey came on, and he was basically a revelation in the Premier League. His speed and ability to shut down counterattacks and beat players making runs to the ball that they were supposed to get, just so key to the way we play. And then we saw late what an impact he can have when he plays at left back as well. He had some really good goals, and he's got just tons of room for improvement still, and I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do for the Netherlands. But in the meantime, and actually the other thing about Van de Ven is we really missed him in that middle part of the season when he had the hamstring injury after Chelsea, and we just saw how important he was to our team. And so really, to me, he was my choice for player of the season, just because he was such a huge addition for us. He shows so much promise for the future, and I'm just so happy to have him in the squad and going forward. And now switching gears to games. Let's see, here we go. So games of the season, really, and these are highs for me that I want to talk about. First one was our 2-2 draw at Arsenal at the Emirates. We had been playing well, very key game, real test on the road, and as it happens, Romero had one of his worst games of the. I mean, he was fine, but he made two key mistakes that we had to overcome, essentially. And so, the first one was Romero's own goal deflection in when Saka got the ball in space and had a clear shot. Vicario might have gotten to it, okay, but I mean, you can't allow Saka to have that kind of space to shoot from. And but then we answered. Son got a nice ball from Maddison, who basically beat Saka right around the end line, raced in toward the goal, then dished to Sonny just in a tight space. Somehow Son found the corner of the net through traffic for the equalizer, and we were right back in that game. And then Saka got the penalty that put them ahead after Romero got a handball. Not much he could do. He wasn't really intentional, but his arm was up in the air as he lunged for the ball. And then finally, the equalizer. And when you think about it, that's what this is a game that cost Arsenal the title. Sonny hit the the equalizer when Maddison nicked it and found him with a perfect pass. So that was a really great game that showed the potential partnership of Maddison and Sonny at its peak, and I hope we see more of that in the future. The second game I want to talk about is the 3-3 draw at City. That was at a point in the season where we were at diminished capacity. Maddison was out. Thankfully, we still had Son at that point, but Brian Hill got the start, and in fact was involved with probably the play of his career at Tottenham, where he got the ball and at the top of our box, spun away from the defense, got the ball out wide to Kulusevski, who hit it long to Son, streaking up, and we got an excellent counter finish that put us ahead. Of course, then it was City for the next 2 points, where Foden answered in the box, I believe. Let me confirm that. Actually, he put them ahead after we had given up an own goal off a free kick. So it was 2-1 at that point. Then Lo Celso gets a score at the top of the box, but we never saw much more like that from him the rest of the season, partly because of injuries, partly because Ange just never played him when he could have. And now it seems likely he's on the way out, which makes sense. I hope we get a little money for him, and I wish him well, certainly. But yeah, anyway, so that put us at 2-2, and then of course Grealish put them ahead after he nicked it off Basuma maybe, and anyway put it away in the box, put them up 3-2. And then as time was running out, we're basically in injury time, end up with a great sequence where it goes out to Johnson. He's able to put in a cross as Kulusevski dives in to the middle of the box and basically tries to head it in, actually shoulders it in. Didn't matter, it was beautiful. And equalized. And between that and the Arsenal game, that really determined that we were right up there at times with those top teams when we were playing well, but consistency in some of the other games. All right, and then let's see. Oh yeah, the third game later in the season kind of was like our late season peak, and then we just so fizzled out after that. So disappointing. But it was, when we beat Villa 4-0 away. At that point, we were in the race with them for the fourth spot in Champions League, and unfortunately, after that things fizzled out. But Madison scored, Johnson scored from Sonny. Then McGinn went out with the red card on Udogie. Son got a goal. Werner got a goal. So many, just such clicking on offense away, getting that kind of victory on the road. And that was the crazy thing is the 3 games that I've talked about here, some of our best of the season, were on the road, definitely. And that's going to be key to our growth in this next season, getting wins on the road against lesser opponents, let alone bigger opponents. And beyond that, the only other game I wanted to talk about, of course, was the Chelsea game at home. We lost 1-4, went down to 9 men. Such a turning point game. We'd been flying kind of coming into that game. We looked great early in that game, and then it all kind of fell apart. Losing our 2 central defenders for a series of games really hurt us going forward, and exposed our lack of depth, and definitely we're going to need to improve that, and hopefully that's going to happen this summer. But anyway, definitely a real kind of sliding doors what if moment, but at the same time a galvanizing moment. Like, this is the way we play. We're going to continue playing it, and we're going to go down fighting. A real good and bad kind of game at the same time. Anyway, that's about it for this season. I'm looking forward to watching some Euros and starting season 2 of AxodysFC. So sorry for the length of this one, but there's a lot to cover, and looking forward to more regular short videos again this summer, and tuning in to a lot of national, international, preseason, and trade type stuff. So, as always, thanks for tuning in. Like and subscribe if you enjoy these. And remember, to dare is to do.